Islam. Yes, I want to come back to y'all today. I want to get some information out to my people because most of us know that we've been miseducated, but we don't know exactly where. Because, there are pieces of information that's missing from your education. All right? I want to bring this information to the Asiatic nation, to the generations of Asiatic nations, so that even the next generation can get this and use this and apply it to their everyday life. Right? This is vital information that you need to become a better person in your life, better citizens to Morocco, this continent where we're at right now. Not the citizens of the United States corporate, but citizens of Morocco. All right? The natural sovereign people to the land. All right? So I want to start with today with what Noble Drew Ali set up in the temples, the way that he organized it, the way that it should be done. Okay? Now listen to this. The structure of the temple, there should be a school, there should be an industrial complex, there should be a press for lecture, newspaper, civic class for enforcing the Constitution, teaching the Constitution principles so that people can learn to be better citizens, and communicating arms of counsel for the international relations, so you can take your place among the affairs of men. Okay, and that's the structure of the temple, the original way that Noble Drew Ali had set it up. All right. So if you ever was to go into the temple, and if it's not structured like this, then you know that COINTELPRO has invaded. COINTELPRO, it means that they sent somebody in there to take high ranks to keep you and your children from being educated, keep you in the dark, teach you without knowing civics, so you don't know who you are, you don't know the Constitution, you don't know the peace treaty. All right. So if they're not teaching civics, if they're not teaching school, they're not writing newspaper, then you know the temple has been compromised. All right. So look for that if you ever go into the temple. Okay. Now, what I want to get into here today is, like I said, there's information missing from your education. All right. We're going to talk about the letter that George Washington wrote. George Washington wrote a letter to Abdullah Muhammad III. He was Emperor of Morocco. He wrote this letter 1789. This letter was written in 1789. December 1st, 1789, December 1st, George Washington wrote a letter to Morocco for the peace treaty that was taking place between Morocco and the United States corporate America, who was occupying America. He wrote a letter to the Emperor of Morocco. Now, they never teach you this letter here in school, but you need to hear this. Listen to this. I'm going to read the letter so you know that I'm not just talking. Let's see here. It says, great and magnanimous friend, since the date of the letter which the late Congress, by their president, addressed to your Imperial Majesty, the United States of America has thought proper to change their government and institution and and situate a new one agreeable to the Constitution, of which I have the honor herewith to enclose a copy. The time necessary employed in the arduous task and the disarrangement occasioned by so great thought, peaceful revolution, will apologize and accept for your majesty not having received those regularly advised marks of attention from the United States which the friendship and magnanimity of your conduct towards them afford reason to expect. The United States having unanimously appointed me to the supreme executive authority in this nation. Your Majesty letter of August 17, 1788, which by reason of dissolution of the late government remained in the unannounced, unanswered, has been delivered to me. I have also received a letter from your Imperial Majesty, has been so kind as to write in favor of the United States of the vassals of the Tunis is Morocco, and Trapilo, and I presented to you this important mark of your friendship for them. We greatly regret the hostile disposition of those renegades towards this nation who have never injured them, is not to be removed on terms, our power to comply within our territory. There are no mines, whether of gold or silver. And this young nation, in just recovering from the waste and dissolution of a long war, have not as yet had time to acquire riches in agriculture and commerce, but our soil is beautiful and our people industrious, and we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. The encouragement which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to all commerce with your dominion, the punctuality with which you have caused the treaty with us to be observed, and just and generousness measures taken in the case of Captain Proctor make a deep impression on the deep state and confirm their respect for attachment to your Imperial Majesty. It gives me great pleasure to have the opportunity of assuming your Majesty that while I remain the head of this nation, I shall not cease to promote every measure that may conduce to the friendship and harmony which so happily persist between your empire and them, and shall esteem myself happy in every occasion of convincing your Majesty of high sense, which in common with the whole nation entertain in magnanimity, wisdom, and benevolence of your Majesty. May the Almighty bless your Imperial Majesty and our great and magnanimous friend with his consent, guidance, and protection within at the Bay of New York, the first day of December, 1789. To our great and magnanimous friend, the Emperor Majesty, the Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Morocco, from George Washington. You see, this is a letter that George Washington wrote to the Emperor of Morocco in 1789 after the peace treaty in 1787, which is the longest peace treaty in the world. This peace treaty is still going on right now. And between 1500 and the 1800, the Europeans was not safe traveling these 7 seas. They had to have permission from the Moors in order to travel these seas, because the Moors run these seas. The Moors control the seas. They confiscated their boats, confiscated the people, and they was making deals just to get their ships and their people from being held by the Moors. So I mean, if remember, George Washington was not voted in. George Washington was. They gave him. The Moors gave him that position afterwards, because they had brought the original Negro into government. You know, the Europeans was not in government here in North America, here in America, on this continent. The Moors brought them into government. They had no knowledge of what it was. So you need to understand that the Constitution is not written in England, and that this is not the European's land. It's not the so-called white man. He's not a white man, he's a European. This is not his land. This is your land. If you would stop calling yourself Negro, black, and color, if you would call yourself who you really are, a Moor, then you can claim your sovereignty. You claim your nationality, then you claim your wealth. You understand me? Now, this is a small class that I'm doing today. Let me continue with this. I want to get into, let's see here. Now, I want to talk about, let's see, what we got here. We're doing a small class right now. Let's talk about the Freedmen's Bureau, right? Freedmen's Bureau. Now, what is the Freedmen's Bureau, and when did it take place, and what's up with it today? The Freedmen's Bureau was about when you thought that you was going to get your 40 acres in a year. What you was going to receive was your inheritance back, your nationality back, your land back. You understand me? So I'm going to read this. I got this out of the archives of American history, which I had to go through a computer to get it. But they do have this information written in secret society books. They keep for people in secret, so they can take that, whatever it is to take, keep this information low, keep it quiet. You can go to a Library of Congress and get this information. But let me read it for you so you won't think I'm just talking. All right? Now, the Freedmen's Bureau, the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, usually referred to as simply the Freedmen's Bureau, was a U.S. federal government agency that aided distressed free slaves during the Reconstruction era of the United States, though by 1870 it had been considerably weakened. The Freedmen's Bureau bill, which established by the Freedmen's Bureau in March 3, 1865, was initiated by President Abraham Lincoln and was intended to last for 1 year after the end of the Civil War. The Freedmen's Bureau was an important agency of the early Reconstruction assisting freedmen, free ex-slaves in the South. The Bureau was part of the United States Department of War, headed by Union Army General Oliver O. Howard. In 1872, it was disbanded under President Ulysses S. Grant. The Bureau encouraged former plantation owners to rebuild, and their plantation urged free blacks, so-called, and gain employment, kept an eye on the contract between labor and management, and pushed the white, so-called, and the black, so-called, to work together as employers, rather than masters and slaves. But see, what the true history is, it was this. It was what. See, that's why they murdered Abraham Lincoln. And then they told the brother, his name was Hannibal, Hamlin Bay, dark-skinned brother. After they murdered Abraham Lincoln, they came in with guns and told the vice president, Hannibal Hamlin Bay, to either step down or die, like they did all the other Asiatics that was in the government at this time. And then they put in Andrew Johnson, and he struck down so-called, you thought you was going to get your put in, so that you cannot find out who you was. And they reconstructed history, rewrote them. All the history books are full of lies. You'll never get the true information because you're being socially engineered with the TV, with the school books, with the churches. You're being socially engineered. You're being taught that you came over here on a slave boat. You're being taught that this is not your land. You're being taught that you're a black man and taught that he's a white man and that this is his land. This is not the so-called white man's land. And if you would go and study your true history, if you go into the temple, you can find it. You can find your true history. If you had money to go over to Mecca somewhere and find out a true priest, he'll tell you who the true history is. You can find out. But as long as you accept what the Europeans tell you, you accept the way things are, that it's okay to go work and pay taxes to this foreigner who's a European, and then drive the car down the street who's a foreigner and over here in your land. You understand me? But you become the foreigner when you call yourself Negro, black, and color. I'm talking about in law. I mean, this is redundant, but I gotta keep saying to get it over to your brains. If you don't want it, let your children have it. Give them a chance at it. Let them try it out. Let them be free. Since you don't want to be free, you just want to wait on somebody to come save you. You're still praying and marching and praying. Anybody can't save you yet. You need to save yourself. Put on the armor of God. This knowledge is your armor. Then you become the God of your life. You put on your armor of God, that's what the Bible says they're talking about. You put on your armor, you put on your shield, and you don't be afraid no more once you get the knowledge. All the fear exists with the pig rolling down the street, they still ain't no good. But you're able to defend yourself now because you now have a knowledge. Knowledge makes fear disappear. It gets rid of it. When you call up in ignorance and fear and comfort, it's hard to when somebody bring you to the light. You know, somebody bring you to the light and then you turn your back on that person. You say, oh, this person ain't no good. Well, what about you? What part are you playing? Are you just comfortable with the way things are going? You're going to inherit what your grandfathers and grandmothers had. Then your children are going to inherit what you're going through. Is that what you want, or do you want change? How do you stop the struggle? You get this knowledge. All right? Now, let me continue. I'm going to close it out in a minute. But what I want to talk about now is the King Alfred Plan. Now, the King Alfred Plan is just a continuation of the secret treaty of Verona, which took place in 1213. I told you this before, I'm going to say it again. The King Alfred Plan is a continuation of the Treaty of Verona 1213 between Pope Innocent III, King John of England, and the Bishop of Rome, who was the clergy of the church of one political body. That all land, people, or property, because they went around the world trying to conquer land, trying to conquer people, enslaving people, and conquering their wealth, taking people out of sovereignty and branding them with a European name so they can be slaves. So you think that because you need a driver's license that's the way it's supposed to be. No, that's your natural born right. What's your birthright? You don't know what it is. A natural born human person, you don't need no driver's license to walk up down the street. You need no license to sell your products to make a living for you and your family. If you have a farm on your land, you start selling your fruits and vegetables. Well, you need a license for that. But if you're a corporate person, then they tell you need to be taxed because of the King Alfred Plan. Now, the Treaty of Verona is a continuation of the Berlin Convention of 1884 to 1885. It's a continuation of the King Alfred Plan, a continuation of the Rex 84 Plan, and a continuation of Homeland Security. All these are people working for the Pope, the Roman nation. That's who it is. That's what's going on. That's who these black and white pigs are working for, the European nation. That's why they're always after you, seeking you, running up on you, trying to get money out of you. You need to pay this to walk. You need to pay this to drive your car and live in your house. Keep paying taxes. You're a corporate person. You go black and color, corporate people. Fiction. They're not real. But you want to go to church, I'm just going to wear that Jesus. No, that's what you want to give your children. But let me read the King Alfred Plan to you so you understand a little bit what I'm talking about. King Alfred Plan, Attorney General, preliminary memo, Department of Defense. The memo is being submitted in lieu of the full report from the Joint Chief of Staff. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minorities, if you're a minority, now listen, will be able to put into the streets a superior number of people with desperate and dangerous will. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage. So how do you come over here on the boat if you're bound to this continent by heritage? You see the lie that they're telling you? Let me continue. And knows that political asylum will not be available to him and other countries. The greatest concentration of the minority is in the Deep South, the Eastern Seaboard, the Great Lakes region, and the West Coast, while the national population exceeded that of the minority by more than 10 times. We must realistically take into account the following. Now listen to this. An estimated 40 to 50% of so-called white, they're Europeans and not white, population will not, for various reasons, engage the minority during an emergency. 2, American armed forces are spread around the world. A breakout of war abroad means fewer troops at home to handle the emergency. Local law enforcement officials must contain the emergency until help arrives. Through it may mean fighting a superior force. New York City, for example, has a 25,000 man police force, but there are about 1 million minority members in the city. Remember, minority is a law term. We are confident that the minority would hold any city it took for only a few hours. The lack of weapons, facilities, logistics all put the minority at a final disadvantage. Since the Korean War, this department has shifted, and listen to this, minority members of the armed forces to areas where combat is most likely to occur, with the aim of eliminating through combat as many combat-trained military men as possible. Today, the rotation of minority members combat vets in Vietnam, where they are serving as advisors. Let me read that again. Today, the ratio of minority member combat deaths in Vietnam, where they are serving as advisors, is twice as high as the minority population ratio to the rest of America. Below is the timetable of King Alfred, as tentatively suggested by the JC, which recommended that the operation be made over a period of 8 hours. 1. Local police minority leaders in action to head off the emergency. 2. Count down to 8 hours begins at the moment the president determines that emergency to be. National coordinator of the long duration, 8 hours. Here's 3. Local police join county police, 7 hours. And 4. State police join county and local police, 6 hours. Federal marshals join state, county, and local forces, 5th hour. Number 6, National Guard, federalized, held in readiness in the 4th hour. 7, regular armed forces alerted to take up position, minority troop divided, and take a position. Listen, let me read 7 again. Regular armed forces alerted, take up position, comma, and then this. Minority troops divided and detained. You get that? Along with all white sympathizers under guard. 3rd hour. Number 8, all minority leaders, national and local, detained. Let me read that again. Number 8, all minority leaders, national and local, detained. So if you think you're a Muslim or a Christian, whatever it is that you want to be, if you're not claiming your moral status, you're going to be able to get out of there. You're not going to be able to do it. If you're not claiming moral superiority, no matter what you come over here with some other kind of religion, whether it's Hebrewism or Hebrew or Hindu, Muslim, whatever it is, you got to go along with them. Number 9, President addressed minority on television, radio, give it 1 hour and end the emergency. 1 hour left. Number 10, all units under regional command into emergency 0. Zero Committee report. You get that? Now that is the King Alfred plan for all you so-called who want to work with the police, who want to be so-called black leaders. All you guys who walk around with these Europeans, all you motherfuckers in the military, your advisors. When you get murdered up or you die in there, they call you an advisor. They don't look at you as a human being. You understand? And then when something go down, they're going to detain you too. You got that? All you sellouts who didn't know. And if you thought you know, now you really know. All right? And let me continue this. I'm going to close it out in a minute. Survey shows that during the 6-year period, production created 9 million objects or 1,500,000 each year. Production could not disappear of the containers, which proved a bottleneck. However, that was almost 20 years ago. We suggested that vaporization technique be employed to overcome the production problem inherited in King Alfred. The Zero Committee report is referring to the problems that occurred in Nazi Germany when the furnaces were not hot enough to burn the body, that Hitler had killed the body, clogged up the furnace, thereby causing a problem that the above committee recommended avoiding by building high-volume nuclear power incinerators that burn 5,000 degrees. It should be noted that steel melts for approximately 2,700 degrees. Okay? So those of you who think because you joining the police, or you in the military, or you in the church, and you think you're safe, this right here proves that you're not safe. I'm telling you, we're at war. You understand me? You need to know that you're at war. As soon as you stop thinking that you're at war, as soon as you allow death to bring fear to your heart, you haven't lost the fight. You understand me? I'm telling you right now, the United Nations has already looked into sovereign law. If you claim your sovereignty, you free yourself from all this. If you claim your sovereignty, the United Nations Army fights for you. They're your army. But by you being a war, you have a right to carry weapons for self-defense. You got that. If you would just claim your nationality, to free yourself up and to free your children up, and to regain your wealth and your inheritance to the land. You don't need a European, he needs you. Okay. Now let me close it out with this. Now we're going to go take up. This is something we want to read in the law today. Now, do you ever get a ticket? Let's say a ticket or some type of suit. Remember, a ticket is nothing but a suit. There's only 2 courts: the criminal court and the civil court. Civil court means they can sue you for something that's worth the value of $20 or more, or the police give you a ticket or suit. They can only, if you accept Negro, Black, and Color, African American, Smith, Jones, Neil, David, Williams, then he owns you. If you use that birth certificate, either this is vital information. The birth certificate is unconscionable. But then you turn around and sign that marriage certificate. All these paper of ownership. And you agree to that, to be owned. Anyway, listen to what I'm going to read here. This is called Appear. Then I'm going to read your appearance. This is out of a law book, okay? Now listen to this. Now listen. Appear. So you don't think I'm talking. to be properly before a court as a fact or matter of which it can take notice, to be in evidence, to be proved, coming into court by a party to a suit, whether plaintiff or defendant. Now I'm going to read appearance. Appearance. A coming into court as party to a suit, whether in person or by attorney, whether as plaintiff or defendant, for formal proceeding by which a defendant submits himself to the jurisdiction of the court. Did you get that? So you never want to go to court and say, I am appearing. You always want to tell the magistrate and these people that decide that court that you're making a special appearance. So we can check this thing one time and you should have to go no more. But let me continue. The voluntary submission to a court's jurisdiction. I'm going to read it again. The voluntary submission to a court's jurisdiction. You get that? Let me continue. In civil action, the party do not normally actually appear in person, but rather through their attorney. Also, as many phases of the criminal proceeding, particularly involving a minor offense, the defendant attorney appears on his behalf. Appearance may be either general or special. Read that again. Appearance may either be general or special. The former is a simple and unqualified or unrestricted submission to the jurisdiction of the court. The latter, a submission to the jurisdiction of the same specific purpose only, not for all the purpose or the suit. Come on now. A special appearance is for the purpose of testing the sufficiency of service of the jurisdiction of the court. So you're going to challenge the court on this here. Let me read it again. A special appearance is for the purpose of testing the sufficiency of the service of the jurisdiction of the court. You get that? A general appearance is made where the defendant waives defect of service and submit to the jurisdiction of the court. There it is right there. That's a law term out of a law book. This is a law book. It's a law book. You get it? It's a law book. Alright? Now, you have people out here today who get this information, who refuse to acknowledge reality. They want to continue to live the fiction because they allow the European to be their God. Now, don't come to me talking to me about some God, an invisible God that you can't see, and you hate your brother. And when a brother come along and you want to try to wake you up, you turn your back on him. And he has, once you've been to the school of thought, and you go back, something's wrong somewhere. Something's wrong. I specifically showed you that this is what it is, and you refuse to accept. And I told you that you was not a nigger or a Negro, that the European is the original Negro, that George Washington and John Adams and all these other Europeans in the 1700s was brought into government by the Moors. They brought the Negroes into government. They switched places with you after wars. But the peace treaty is still going on. And if you would honor who you are, your forefathers and foremothers, and study, and once you study everything, study yourself. Even the Bible tells you to study to show yourself approved. You understand me? So once you get this knowledge, then either you don't know any better than being a nigga, or some people who knows better just have accept themselves of being niggas. So you just want to accept yourself of being a nigga. Okay? And then you run up and down the street, you think hanging out with your friends saying the word nigga all the time, you bringing dislike in your own self. You bringing hatred to your own brother by using the term nigga all day long. You understand? You can't. Why would you hang out with your brother, call him a nigga all day long? You've been socially engineered. You socially hate yourself, and your brother, and your people, and you're not even a nigga. But if you want to be that sell-off nigga, because remember, don't get upset when these other races of people don't accept blacks and niggers. Because blacks and niggers sell out. They do. And so don't start calling them prejudice or racist when they call you black or nigger, get out of here. Because you don't claim a nationality. These people are exercising their human rights. They're exercising their nationality rights. That's why they got stores and businesses and all this stuff over here. Why you can't get none? Because the information is being brought to you and you won't exercise your human right. I know it's a little difficult, a little hard because you've been caught up in this thing for so long. But now is the time for you to wake up and get yourself out of the darkness and into the light. Give yourself a chance. Give your children a chance and your grandchildren. This information is not just for you. It's for you, your children, and your grandchildren. For generations to come. Because the truth never changes, nor shall it pass away. The truth somehow or another will reveal itself. If you seek the truth, you'll get it, you'll find it. If you want change, you can get that change, if you want it. But those of you that want to continue to be that nigga, man, stay away from me. Keep your distance. Now, love my brother. You understand me? But he wants to attack me because I won't call him black or a nigga. What the Europeans use is still your birthright, your inheritance, your land. And you want to go with that. That's what you want to live with. That's what you want to give your baby. The little black boy over there, the nigga over there. You got grown men calling 7, 8-year-old kids nigga. How could you do that to your own baby, your own family? All right? Give him a chance. I'm out.